About a month ago,
Oh, that voice. I can already tell that voice is okay. That voice gives me professional vibe. That channel made such a good explanation of the PR disaster that was Silence termination. It's a video every Niji sister should see. Niji sisters are not gonna watch this. You know why? Because they think fucking Zion made a grape joke, essay joke, she should die. Yeah, they're not gonna watch that. They're not.
I released a video where I took the knowledge gained from 4 years at media school and used it to break down the nightmarish PR strategy employed by Niji Sanji in their termination of Selen Tatsuki,
Yes.
aka
I don't think you need a degree to know that Niji Sanji fucked up with their termination announcement.
Doki Bird. This was a corporate PR strategy so unethical, so incompetent,
I can already hear the internet historian inspiration.
and so disastrous that the fallout from it breached containment and made it into mainstream news.
Yes.
However, at the time that I'm editing this video, the situation seems to have settled down. Following her termination, Dokibird experienced a meteoric rise as a content creator and is currently thriving as an independent VTuber.
Yeah.
And as for Niji Sanji, they've had other scandals to occupy the public's attention.
Yes, they have.
Oh my god! This is still in the works, guys. This is not ready.
This is actually just fucking internet historian. Yep. Yep. Okay. I'm in it.
That being Any Color Incorporated's Niji Sanji, who recently has had an unsigned talent contract making its rounds, as originally reviewed exclusively by Florida Man Lawyer.
Please have me in your video. You cannot make a video like this without mentioning me, Armchair. Come on.
Legal Mindset.
There are some places where this agreement
VTuber, sorry, internet historian.
completely
Internet
thrown out
historian.
because they did not get approval under the local labor law or local labor rules.
Wait, I have a question. How do you feel about Quinn just barely getting sued? Quinn getting barely sued by Niji Sanji? Okay, Orestcal, I have one request from you. I need you to get the sources for that. DM me on Twitter, and I can pull it on stream after this video ends. Okay? Please do that. My DMs are open on Twitter. Please do that. So I meant to say internet historian
the
chat.
termination of Selen Tatsuki, it looks like this might just be the end of the entire saga.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that this is all there is to it. A number of commenters in my last video mentioned that the whole situation bore several similarities to something that happened almost an entire year prior. That
Yes.
being Niji Sanji Ien's only other official termination. The termination of Zion Lanza.
Yes.
Now, I'd only started
Get
watching
educated.
VTubers in late August of 2023, so I wasn't around to witness Zion's termination, which took place in March of that year. But I
Yes.
was vaguely aware of two things. One, that Zion had, to date, the shortest tenure of
Yep.
any talent at Niji En, and two, that after her termination, Sayu Synchronicity...
Wasn't Yusan terminated, or am I remembering wrong? Yusan was pseudo terminated because they graduated, but without a graduation stream. So that's basically a termination in my eyes, to be honest. I call that a pseudo termination. Whenever a VTuber is not allowed to say goodbye, but for PR reasons, for goddamn PR reasons, the company still wants to say it's a graduation because it's quote unquote mutually agreed upon, then no, shut the fuck up. That's a termination.
The talent behind Zion Lanza had gone on to release an explosive statement alleging numerous unethical work practices going on at Niji.
Yes, she did.
Allegations that have had their validity all but confirmed
Yes.
by recent events.
Yes. This was an important part, chat. Because back then, nobody. Well, okay, it's an exaggeration to say nobody, but like, we were in the minority, chat. The people that were supporting Sayu was in the minority. Like, you would think, right? Because we're somewhat of an echo chamber, at least the anti-Niji that was catching up to what Niji was doing back then, we were in a minority. False ID, Kyo, Rev, me, who else? Generally people like us, we were in the goddamn minority. But we knew, knowing what was happening behind the scenes, we knew something was up with Niji Sanji. Because the shit that was getting leaked out, the shit was getting said, that was not normal. At least it shouldn't be normal. But some people just refuse to listen to us. Well, not some people, most people just refuse to listen to us. Yeah. Because to a lot of people, they saw the Sion SA joke, and they saw the her liking Shota's joke, and they immediately thought this person's a bad they immediately thought Sayu is a bad person. Yeah, maybe she deserved getting outed from Niji Sanji. That's what a lot of people think. Not just chat, it's not just fucking Niji sisters that thought that, it was the mainstream. People agreed that it was a very bad termination, but they generally agreed with the idea of booting her out. That she needed to be gone. You know? And it's glad to see that we're getting fucking vindicated. I watched this yesterday. It's a very good representation of Sayu's situation. She's a strong one, that half cyber girl. Exactly, strong coconut. Yeah. You think Kotoka is gonna get silent terminated since it's been more than 2 months now? I have no idea. I have no idea. I truly have no idea what's happening to Kotoka right now. But I feel bad for her. Carrying on.
But there's something else about these two situations that doesn't seem right. One of the things that I remember seeing in the initial wave of responses to Selen's termination was that a number of people were quick to insist that Zion did not deserve to have her experiences considered in the same way as Selen's. And so, my question is, why?
Yeah.
Why are some people so resistant to the idea that Zion was also a victim of Niji's harmful work environment? To
Because
answer
of
that
the
question,
SA joke.
I'll be breaking down
Yep.
how Niji handled
And the
Zion's
Shota joke.
termination in a 3-part
As if-
analysis.
I fucking hate people, by the way. I really do hate fucking people when they say... I'm gonna stop.
1. The lead-up to Zion's termination. 2. The eerie similarities between Zion's termination and Selen's
Mainly
almost
SA,
a year
yeah.
later. And 3. The possible rationale behind Niji's approach to terminating their talents. Throughout this video, I'm going to be referring to the contents of One Girl's story because it provides necessary additional context to the situation. Context that was omitted from Zion's termination notice and has yet to be provided by Niji or its representatives in any official capacity. More importantly, it allows us to piece together a complete story. A story that has repeated itself once already.
I need this
and
guy's
may
editor, by the way. I need his editor. I need his editor. Who edited this for you? Please tell me your editor. Hey, armchair expert, can you tell me your editor? I'm gonna call. Yeah, I'm gonna email him. He's the editor. Fuck me, man. Fuck. I really am looking for people that can. Oh shit, armchair. Hello. Hello. He's in the chat right now. Hello. Fuck, I really am looking for people that can do internet historian-like edits. I really like his edits. Yeah, and again, like what I said in my last video, I can actually afford to lose money making my videos now. So hello, say hello to Armchair here, he's over here. Hell yeah!
Repeat itself again. This is the story of Zion Lanza,
Yeah.
the devil of Niji Sanji Ien.
You know what they say about being a devil, chat? Well, actually, nobody says this. He's a devil to most people, but to us, he's the Jesus Christ. He died for their sins. He got shit on because she was telling the truth. She did something considered blasphemous, and she died for it.
Zion Lanza debuted on the 10th of December 2022 as one of
She
the
paid for this. Zion paid for this. I mean, I haven't talked to her about that, but I think she paid. She said that she was the one paying for her shit, right? Yep, she paid for this. She paid for her good quality shit. Cozy R, thank you for gifting somebody.
original 6 members of Niji Ien's 7th generation, or wave as they call it, X Soleil. Alongside her were Kotoka Torihime, Maloko Kyoran, Hex Haywire, Vermilion, and Dobio Dropscythe. Remember these names because
God, I fucking hate these fucking alliterations.
they'll be important later.
Yes.
Not even 3 weeks after her debut, Zion would announce that she was going on a last-minute family trip starting from the 30th of December until the 10th of January. An odd move for a talent so soon into her career, especially since this meant that she had to cancel a New Year's countdown stream that she had previously promised her fans. And
I wanted to
what's
give it to
more,
Armcha1r YouTube dump.
this was a lie. In actuality, Zion had been given a suspension by Niji and had allegedly been pressured by management
Yep.
into disguising this as a voluntary break in her public announcement. The reasons for this suspension were never publicly clarified, but in Sayu's document, she states that these included playing a Genmate's cover song on stream without prior authorization, playing games on stream using accounts that existed from her Vtubing career prior to joining Niji, and trying to directly contact a manager. Now, as unreasonable
This last
as
one
some
is the
of these
most damning.
justifications are, what's even more unsettling is how Zion's own words were used to hide her suspension from the public, instead of any official statement from management. When you're trying to get a feel for a corporation's communication strategy, taking note of who you don't hear from in their communications is just as important as taking note of who you do hear from. Exnomination is the practice of deliberately excluding someone's voice from a public discourse,
Okay.
usually to enhance the
I'm gonna use
clarity
this
of
in
your
a term
message
someday.
by silencing those who might disagree with you. However,
AKA Niji Sisters.
that's
That's why
not
they go on blocking sprees. Because they don't want to see anybody that quote unquote disrupts their safe space.
the only way exnomination can be used, because sometimes the voice you want to keep the public from hearing isn't someone else's, but rather
Theirs.
your own.
Oh, sorry.
It's pretty hard to criticize the actions and intentions of a faceless entity, but it gets even harder when those actions and intentions are
I think, chat, I don't think this is a hot take. I think it is morally okay to harass a company. Not anybody from a company, but a company. Like a corporate entity. I think it's okay to shit talk them. I think it's okay because it's a fucking company. A company is not a person.
skinwalking beneath the words and faces of people you've come to trust. What Zion's first suspension demonstrated was that, where possible, Niji's management will always avoid speaking up for themselves to the public, while simultaneously trying to hide their true intentions behind the words and faces of its talents. Remember this point, because we'll be coming back to this later. Upon returning, Zion
How
will
diverse
do
is a
her
good
best
example.
to
Exactly,
continue
exactly.
streaming as usual.
Fucking bombard it. Review bomb it. A company needs to fucking learn that they are nothing without the people that supports them. Harass them, bombard them, do whatever it takes. Don't let them fucking dictate you. But then again, people don't want to do that. especially when a VTuber agency is involved, because VTuber agencies are inherently parasocial, right? There are often times where a fan base is more parasocial to the company itself rather than the VTuber that they're following. You know, I think that's something that is actually still happening right now in Hololive and Nijisanji. That's why you don't see a lot of Kyo Kaneko fans migrating over to his Quinn PL account. Why you don't see a lot of Kryo Coco fans migrating over to Kson and keeping watch. Well, actually that did happen. It's just that there are differences on which is the superior content creator, Coco versus Kson. But you know, that's the reason why a lot of people that are outside those agencies don't follow their PLs. Because some of these fucking, even though they claim that those people are their Oshis or that they like those persons a lot, because that's just unfortunately the fact that's happening in VTubing right now. Some people, a good majority of them at least, are more so fans of the company than they are the talents. Yeah. If, for example, chat, let's say Scarlet graduates from Nijisanji. Well, actually, no, let's change this. Let's say the Nijisanji drama did not happen, right? If Scarlet graduates from Nijisanji and she goes to Hololive, more people would watch the Hololive version. Even if their content is the same, even if their personality is the same. You know why? It's because she's in Hololive. There's no change in personality, no change in content, no change whatsoever. Literally nothing has changed but the identity. She will still get much more views in Nijisanji. In Hololive, I mean. Because people will like Hololive members solely for the fact that they are Hololive members. That's why when it comes to branding is everything when it comes to a VTuber agency. Because it just comes with the territory of parasocialism. Because it's just so inherent in this industry. Yep. Yeah, I would do that. Yeah. And it's glad that a lot of you guys are self-aware enough that you are going to do that. I myself would do that. If a random fucking indie from Twitch goes over to Hololive, I might like them. I might watch them, I mean. Not for themselves, but because they are Hololive members. Yeah. There are a fair few, but those fair few are a minority.
Ever that lasted until the 8th of February, when Niji announced that Zion would be suspended indefinitely, citing compliance issues. 47 days. That's how long Zion was allowed to be a Niji liver for, because on March 10th, 2023, just over a month into her indefinite suspension and exactly 3 months after her debut, Nijisanji Yen would announce the termination of its contract with Zion.
Yep.
In media school, one of the things that you'll learn about in your first or second year...
I like your voice, Armchair. You have that. If you go into VTubing news or commentary, you will actually pop off. Your voice has that formality in it, like that riz, or I don't know how to call it. I wish I had that voice, because right now I sound like a dumb Filipino. My accent is so strong, so I don't have the same appeal as a lot of you guys have. He got that commentator riz. Exactly, Penumbral. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Oh, and thank you, Tharja IBW. Bro, I almost got bricked at you saying Scarlet going to Hololive. She's literally the only VTuber keeping me watching Niji. I am on my knees praying. Yeah, man. Is what it is.
Is that news media can create...
Yeah, it's going good, Penumbral.
And I don't mean misinformation or defamation or, you know, games journalism. I mean that media outlets can make almost anything look like a problem
exactly,
that
Saro.
threatens the whole of society. And they do this by creating a phenomenon known as a moral panic. A moral panic can be defined as a public outcry that emerges in response to a condition, event, person, or minority that has been portrayed in the media as a threat to society itself. This is usually done through a 4-step process. First, a target subject is identified as an emerging problem. This problem is then exposed as a threat by media
So it's a
outlets,
psyop.
usually in a way that
I call
strips
all these, I call it a psyop, by the way. When you want to pin somebody as a bad guy, I call it a psyop. I don't know why. I just call it a psyop.
it of nuance and or context. Then, trustworthy commentators are brought in to tell the public
That's
how
me.
the threat should be
I'm trustworthy.
perceived and how it should be dealt with.
Yeah, see? Look, VTuber agencies, you need to be friends with people like me, people like Krima, people like Kyo, because you can pay us to change to have a certain narrative be spun around a certain way. I am morally bankrupt. Well, no, actually, you know what? Chat, honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. Because VTuber agencies are allergic to me, right? I actually genuinely think that that makes me more trustworthy for you guys, because that means I'm literally incorruptible because nobody wants to associate with me in the first place, you know? So I think, you know, I don't mean to make myself be the best here, but I'm just saying, because I have nothing to gain and nothing to lose, I just do what I think is right. I don't think I have any narrative to control.
Or, finally, the threat is
Do you really believe?
neutralized,
Yep.
having either been completely annihilated in the public sphere or simply fading into obscurity.
Until you get
Regardless
paid.
of whether a moral panic is justified
Chat, I have applied to so many, like, watch-alongs, and so many people. I've reached out to so many VTuber agencies. I have not gotten any response from them, at least officially. So, you know, yeah.
or not, it's an emotionally taxing way of getting people to care about an issue, one that bears a human cost that often cancels out the value of any awareness achieved. And what's more, this isn't a phenomenon unique to news outlets.
Yeah, it's
In
not.
fact,
It's a universal
moral
thing.
panics have been co-opted as publicity strategies on social media by individual users and corporate PR strategies. We know from looking at Zion's brief career that Niji's management had already singled her out as a possible problem early on in her tenure. However, what really gives away their attempts at manipulating public perception is how they executed the termination itself.
God, I love this guy's edits. Thank you, Phil Fat. What's the amount for you to blow Nijisanji's yacht for it to float? I mean, am I not already doing that? You're getting it for free, bro. You're getting it for free.
When you read through Zion's termination notice for the first time, one of the things that might catch your attention is the veritable laundry list of alleged offenses. Some of these bullet points are vague enough that you'd question why they were even included. For example, comments that can be considered offensive to the rights holder of a game.
This is, I think, because they want to look the best while trying to be like, it's trying to supplant an idea into the minds of people, but making it so that legally or even technically it's correct or it's truthful, but it's implying something else, right? It's like that whole downing illegal substances on stream that Idol pulled on Riro. Again, that could imply certain things, and worst case scenario, because people are people will assume the worst things, and people just assume drugs. Right? So, that's what people thought, but that could not be the case.
During a stream,
It's wrong, but it's so common. I'm not saying that the commonality and how much it's practiced validates it, but nor should it be nor that it should be normalized, but you know, yeah.
Anything from joking about a publisher's affinity for breast milk to complaining that a game is less action than transaction. Other alleged infractions are blatantly misleading, such as expressing her will to perform streams using illegal games, also referred to as pirate games, which, according to Sayu's document, references an occasion where Zion told her chat that she used to play ROM hacks. technically a form of piracy, but with no indication that she intended to do so
Or encouraged
again,
it. Yeah.
let alone on stream. But there's one infringement in particular that would go on to become a common talking point in subsequent discussions about
Used to, by the way. Look, let me do Sayu better. I still pirate stuff.
the situation, and that is the fourth dot point, offensive remarks regarding discrimination and SA. Now, at face value, this is a pretty heavy accusation, but it's also one
BF
that
debuff
Sayu took
justifies it,
pains
exactly.
to address in her counterstatement. As far as offensive remarks regarding SA, Zion makes no attempts to dispute the gravity of the infraction, with one girl's story specifying the exact stream and the exact joke that led to said offense, before expressing
That's
that
a
she
big deal.
takes full responsibility for the mistake.
That's a big deal, by the way. That's a big deal. Because the one thing that I've seen in a lot of not VTuber, like YouTuber or content creator apologies is that they always do not name drop or specify the situations. They always try to be vague as to not like they always don't directly mention it. And I feel like that's not like, why would you do that? You know? It's like, come on. But so the fact that she actually did do that, I think speaks to her sincerity. Look, a lot of you guys might not think that she deserved the hate for an SA joke, but the fact of the matter is, Sayu thinks it's a bad thing, and if you think that and if you try to convince her that what she did was not bad, that she did nothing wrong, I think that would be invalidating her feelings. You know? I think the moment somebody acknowledges that what they did is wrong, then I think you should let people feel that it is wrong and let people atone for it.
And apologizes for it. Although you can find clips of the stream in question, I'm not going to include any here, mostly because there isn't much to discuss since both Zion and Niji appear to be in agreement that it constitutes a legitimate infraction.
Yeah.
However, my issue with this bullet point isn't with this infraction, but how it was stitched together with an additional accusation of offensive remarks regarding discrimination. In the same section of One Girl's Story, it stated that this particular accusation arose from an interaction that took place during Zion's second ever stream, when she was jokingly asked by a viewer if they could use the term Zionists as a community fan name. As you can imagine, she said no, but she made the mistake of laughing as she did so. And instead of interpreting this as an expression of nervousness, shock, or a response to the sheer absurdity of that suggestion, Niji chose to frame it as Zion mocking the political or religious beliefs of others.
You know what this would be an equivalent in HoloLive? It would be if HoloLive literally like canceled or put Bibu on like a sin list just because she addressed that she doesn't want Pebble Files to be her fan name. It's that stupid.
More than anything else, it's this deliberate mischaracterization of Zion's actions that reveals how
Thank you, Tharja
Niji went
IBW.
out
Hold
of
on.
its
Thank you, Tharja IBW. I would argue she doesn't feel like she did wrong. There is just no way to defend herself against the majority audience, so she would rather take the L. Perhaps. We don't truly know.
way to not only portray Zion as an incompatible employee, but a reckless liability that threatened company values. And if that sounds familiar, that's because it's the exact same rationale behind how Selen's termination notice was written. Despite the two-page difference in length, if you look at the contents of the two documents side by side, a pattern begins to emerge. Both notices emphasize that there were multiple violations of Niji's activity rules, but when trying to specify what these violations were, Both statements then
Vague as fuck.
default to mixing legitimate possible infractions with misleading, vague, or even provably untrue accusations of misconduct. But what if I told you that this isn't the only point of similarity between the two terminations? What if I told you that the most infamous and baffling part of Selen's termination actually has a precedent? That a message from Niji-sanji Ien was not just a mistake in terms of professionalism, legality, or ethics, but in execution as well. And that we have an example of how it was supposed to work with Zion.
Okay. Hype.
In the
I like how he tries to dissect this part. Like this part. Vague posting.
aftermath of Zion's termination, each of the 5 remaining members of XLA would go on to make a public statement addressing the situation. Now, these weren't the only instances
Pay attention
where
for this
other
part,
livers
okay.
would bring up the topic of Zion or her termination, but I chose to focus on these 5 statements because they were made by her genmates. 2 of the 5 statements, those being from Vermilion and
Ver's statement is super based. He was super neutral. And you know what? Hell yeah.
Doppio Drop Scythe would take place in a small segment of a previously scheduled livestream. In Doppio's case, this was less of a statement and more a vague reference to the situation, one where he thanked his audience for supporting him through tough times and expressed how saddened he felt at recent events, before requesting that he be allowed to focus on more positive things moving forward.
Good for him.
Ver's statement, despite being more outwardly critical of Zion, also appeared to project a degree of goodwill.
Hell yeah.
He prefaces
exactly.
his words by stating his respect for Zion as a person and as a content creator,
Yeah.
before reiterating
Ver did
that
nothing
the
wrong.
termination was not the result of a single mistake, but multiple infractions. He then expresses personal disappointment with Zion's actions while mentioning that himself and other members of XLA had tried, unsuccessfully, to advise her in complying with Niji's rules. However, despite reiterating that he thought the termination was ultimately justified, Ver emphasizes that he had hoped for a different outcome and concludes by wishing Zion luck in her future endeavors. And if that was all
You know how you can figure out that somebody is lying when you ask a person a reason for doing so and so, and they give off multiple reasons that are half baked. I think that also applies to how you know when a company is fucking lying out of his ass. Because the thing that I've noticed for people is that when they're lying, they tend to give off like half-baked reasons as to why they said something or did something. But when somebody is truthful, they just say one thing and they don't elaborate on that. Because when people are nervous, they do everything and say anything that can make it so that they can convince the people that they're lying to. But when you're truthful, you don't really have that kind of like instinct flare up. When you're truthful, you don't have this nervousness to want to convince somebody. You just say it outright. Yeah. When they talk around the subject. Yeah. So I guess that's one thing that you should notice when some of you guys are lying. When you guys are trying to catch a lie. When they say a lot of things and then they stutter and when all that kind of shit happens, they mostly lie. Because they're trying to find a way to talk around it. Yeah, it doesn't apply to everyone. Generally speaking, I think, at least in my experience, I think that's the truth. Especially when people don't know how to lie. It will change though, depending on who you're talking to. If you're talking to an experienced, very good liar, then yeah.
there was
It's
to
gonna fail.
XLA statements, then this section of the video wouldn't exist. But now we come to the statements made by Zion's other genmates. 3 individual live streams, each one taking place within an hour of its predecessor, and each
Actually
one
organized.
made for the sole purpose of addressing the termination. Earlier on, I mentioned how Niji's management has demonstrated a tendency to use their talents as a way of delivering their messages to the public and hiding their intentions from the public. We saw this during Selen's termination with a message from Niji-sanji En, which I covered in my last video. The TLDR of what I said is that Niji's management attempted to take potshots at Selen's character and
Yep, that's the internet historian
under
inspiration.
the guise of allowing 3 of their talents to air personal grievances they had with Selen. The thing that confused people the most, especially those with a communications background, is why Niji would choose to do this. If you look at it through the lens of a PR strategy, using talents to speak on behalf of management accomplishes
more
little
effective.
else besides tarnishing said talents with the mistake
Yeah, because talents are more trusted by the fans.
of management, while also handicapping management by having non-professionals speak on their behalf.
Yeah, that's actually
However,
true. Oh my god, that's actually good. That's a nice thing that they point out. Yeah. People get the talents to talk about it because people trust them more, but because they're not PR and communication experts, they fumble. It's like a double. Oh, that's a good catch. Interesting.
If you look at this approach through the lens of a moral panic, then things start to make a bit more sense. If all you're looking to do is define a threat, then the bar for what counts as a trustworthy commentator is lowered significantly. Whereas a PR strategy might demand professionals, experts, maybe even mainstream celebrities, a moral panic will settle just fine for victims. In media and communications, there's a term that's used to describe what can happen to a person who's put at the center of a moral panic. Their public image begins to
They used
morph
Asmongold.
and change, becoming progressively less and less human as the threat they pose is repeatedly emphasized, until, finally, they emerge out the other side as a folk devil. A folk devil is
Wait, I wanna see. What did he say?
they emerge as a person other side as a folk devil.
Me at Jornos, whose lights he keeps on at Sportskida. Seriously, try googling Asmongold and going to the news tab. Interesting.
A folk devil is a person or minority that gets turned into a symbol of a group's collective fears and anxieties.
Okay.
Folk devils are often conjured to fulfill 2 functions. On one hand, folk devils can act as a fall guy for a larger problem.
It's Yudian.
And by
Yeah,
taking them
that can
down,
applies to me.
you can create
Somewhat.
the illusion of solving
I'm a
said
devil.
problem. On the other hand,
I don't know if that's a good
folk
thing,
devils
but it
can
sounds
serve
cool.
as examples to everyone else of how not to behave, with their persecution acting as a warning of what can happen to those who step out of line. To show you what I mean, we're going to take a look at how these 3 statements combine to tell the public 2 things. 1, how Zion should be perceived, and 2, how she should be dealt with. However, before we begin, I want to reiterate that my focus here isn't on the talents themselves, nor their individual responsibilities for the statements they made. Instead, my aim is to show how their words, regardless of truth or individual intentions, were used by Niji's management as a weapon to destroy Zion's character while conveniently keeping themselves out of the picture. So, once again, please don't harass anyone, especially those mentioned here.
Unfortunately, that's not gonna happen, Armchair. But I think the sentiment is what matters. Yeah. The thing about
Of the 3
Enough said.
statements, Moloko Kyoran's is perhaps the most benign. She begins
The
by
tamest,
expressing
yeah.
how devastated she is at Zion's termination, before apologizing to both her own and, more importantly, to Zion's audiences for the situation, acknowledging how some may feel shocked or hurt by recent events. Something I want to point out is that throughout the entire stream, Moloko sounds distraught. Despite the talents having no say in this decision, and despite her obvious emotional distress, Niji's management chose to have Moloko apologize to audiences not on their behalf, but in their place. Let that sink in for a moment. Moloko, a talent, has essentially been left on her own to address any feelings of discontent that Zion's remaining audience might harbor towards this termination. Although, thankfully, this didn't happen, had that audience been
Yeah, it's because
more
Meloko
inclined
was generally being nice. Yeah.
to vocalize that discontent in that moment, Moloko would have been the one bearing the brunt of it.
She
It's
played it
also
nice.
worth noting that, whether it was intended or not, her obvious emotional distress would have acted as a deterrent to criticisms of the termination decision, as even discontented audiences were likely to identify with her feelings of powerlessness, an effect which was probably amplified by her unnecessary apology. Now, on its own, Moloko's statement is fairly innocent, even tragic. A helpless talent trying to comfort her audience and who can't find any way of expressing the grief they share besides the words of an apology. However, the implications of this stream become a lot more pointed when you look at how it was contextualized by Katoka Torahime's statement
Okay.
that came right before it. What makes the presentation of Katoka's statement so insidious is how it attempts to shape public perception of Zion under the pretext of implying an interpersonal
Kotoka and Hex are gonna be the main.
conflict between her and her genmates. And to show you what I mean, we're going to go through 2 clips from Katoka's stream. Here's the first one.
Yay!
So first things first, about the termination, obviously. Honestly, what's said in the announcement is pretty simple and clear, I feel like. She broke the rules, a lot of the rules. And we, as the Exile member, really tried really hard. We tried really hard to discuss things over with her about her mistakes. We sometimes even fought with her for some things that she wished to be granted upon herself.
There.
Okay.
This one line shifts the tone of the statement by framing the interactions between Zion and her genmates as a more combative her versus us scenario. And just like that,
Yes, Muhammad,
the idea
it's
that the
Kotoka's
public should
response.
view this situation as a conflict between Zion and her former colleagues is no longer just implied. Neither is the idea that Zion deserves no sympathy for the manner in which she was terminated. But what solidifies Zion's role as Niji Sanji Ien's very own folk devil is what comes after this.
Okay.
I might be.
I remember this part.
You know, I might be like that filthy, stupid Yaru.
The end feels
that
bad for her,
slacks
by the
off
way.
in all the council.
Come on. Come on. Is it really invalid for me to feel bad that she's getting harassed? I mean, you know. Yes? Damn. Am I too... Fuck, that's the 4th time I ask you guys. That's the 4th time I ask you guys if I'm too nice. Alright, let's continue with the video. Well, you did not share the sentiment with the others. Well, yeah, because nobody seemed just as distraught as Kotoka was. Like, I don't see fucking Hex Haywar shitting and pissing. In fact, Hex Haywar is very, I would say, defensive.
Works and
I
the Yaru that you know, is not good with both Japanese and English. Just the person, the girl that is not knowledge about a lot of the common things around here. But I do know when someone is disrespecting the ones I love.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I may be new here,
Okay.
but some of you may hear me live for the first time actually.
What does that mean?
But I'm proud to say that I love Niji-sanji. I love all the members that are here with me, here with us. I'm sad to see my gem mates having to apologize for this because, honestly,
Family?
this wasn't their fault.
Mm-hmm.
And for all these reasons, honestly, I don't know if I can say that I'm in the state to wish.
Oh yeah,
her
I
good
remember
luck
this
on her
part. Yep.
future ahead.
Yep.
For now.
Basically essentially saying, yeah, fuck her. Look, I get it, but fuck her. That's basically what she's saying.
Zion, but maybe in the future, like maybe someday, like when our path intersect with each other, like I don't know if that's even possible because you came from the future, but that's my personal intake about this.
There is a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, I forgot. Now that okay, I'm gonna let him talk, and then I'm gonna give you guys my take.
On the surface, Kotoka's statements about loving Niji and everyone in it might seem fairly innocuous, but it also paints
Yeah.
a very specific picture of Niji's work environment. We are led to believe that said environment is one of mutual support and love. Conversely, this also implies
Which is
that
not true.
Zion was just an aberration, a deviant that threatened the integrity of this safe space and who was rightfully ejected as a result. This perception of Zion as a liability to those around her is further amplified by the next section of Kotoka's address, where she states this.
I'm sad to see my gem mates having to apologize for this because, honestly, this wasn't their fault.
At risk of stating the obvious, since the decision wasn't theirs to make, none of the talents had to apologize unless they were told to do so by management. However, by excluding any mention of management's role in this termination
It means it
decision,
was willing.
the statements made by these talents all serve to paint Zion as the source of all the pain and emotional distress arising from the situation. By contrast, the remaining members of X-Soleil are framed as helpless victims, devastated by the aftermath of the termination, just as their audiences are. And when it comes to Niji-sanji's manipulative use of talent victimhood, nowhere is it put on display more than it is in Hex Haywire's statement.
Yeah.
During his stream, Hex reiterates many of the points made by
Okay, so this is Hex's statement now. But me personally, this was what I also wanted to say. When she says, I love all of the members that are here with me, here with us. He got it right in the head. Because I also thought, yeah, this is going in with the implication that it's us versus them. Everybody in here in Niji-sanji are all good people. We're innocent. We don't know. We don't fuck around. She was the poison. Like, you know, it basically paints an us versus them narrative. And then this is where I am a little confused for this part. What does for now mean?
When our path, Zion,
Yeah, for now. Hold on. Honestly, this one.
this wasn't their fault.
Oh, no, not this one.
And for all these reasons,
This one. This part.
honestly, I don't know if I can say that I'm in the state to wish her good luck on her future ahead for now.
For now. Okay. Armchair, you're here, right? I feel like this means something. Or maybe I'm just overthinking. I'm not like trained for this. But what does "for now" mean here? It was a reference to the lore? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I don't think it's a reference to the lore.
For now, Zion, but maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
look, bro, look. That's not an attempt to cater to the lore. I really don't think so. I took it as her trying to say that she might make up in the future. Assuming Zion would want to. I feel like for some reason I feel like that's wrong. No, I mean like what she said there was wrong. Like did they fight? Was there fucking yelling?
Would
Because like it felt personal, or at least it gave the impression to me that it was personal. Not very likely, but I guess she did it to save face. Interesting,
nowhere
interesting.
is it put on display more than it is in Hex Haywire's statement. During his stream, Hex reiterates many of the points made by his genmates. However, what separates this statement from the others is how Hex begins his address.
Yeah, I remember this part. I remember this
I
part.
do want to say first and foremost, as both a liver for Niji Sanji and someone who has suffered through essay sexual assaults as
Chat,
a young
I'm
person,
not I'm not defending Kotoka. I just said I feel bad for her. There's a difference.
or as a younger individual, I cannot condone a lot of the jokes.
I think you're
and a
reading too
lot
much
of
into
the
it?
things
Okay.
that she said, and it devastates me. It
Mhm.
devastates me because I never would have guessed that it would come to this. It would happen
Mhm.
this abruptly.
Now, to be clear, publicly sharing that you're a victim of SA or any other form of abuse is not itself a bad thing.
I think that's
but
valid,
what
yeah.
complicates the way that Hex has done so here is how his victimhood is being used to qualify his condemnation of Zion. Regardless of his intentions, this effectively frames Zion's infractions as a personal slight against Hex and implies a degree of malice behind her words and actions.
Thank you, Ortrus. Interesting. Dumb Garo directed at Kotoka. Management actually approved of using the trauma of one of their talents to legitimize their demonetization of another. I don't think, you know what I think, Armchair? I don't think they did. I think management just told I think they just let the talents say whatever the fuck they say as long as it condemned Zion. I really do think that. I don't think they approved anything. I think it's even dumber than that.
At best, you could argue that this was
Yeah,
done
negligence.
with a neglectful ignorance.
Oh, okay,
of
he
how
actually
Hex's
addresses this,
words
okay.
would be interpreted by
Interesting.
some members of the Western audience as a license to attack Zion. But at worst, this could be viewed as a deliberate attempt at mobilizing online audiences.
Either way is bad,
for
by
a
the way.
harassment campaign. Ultimately,
Either way
it
is bad.
this shared sense of disappointment and helplessness expressed by all three talents that viewers are being encouraged to identify with. It's also what Niji's management is relying on to give these talents the credibility to speak out about the situation despite them having no say in the termination decision and lacking any PR expertise of their own.
Mm.
Moral panics are especially destructive when they're used in the context of a publicized interpersonal dispute, because they have a tendency to turn perceived victimhood into a source of credibility. As a result,
Yeah. Thank you, Vought. I'm gonna be honest. Sayu is completely justified it to not willing to make amends with former genmates. If she wants to sit back and watch them burn, she's fully entitled to. Yep. I don't think anybody is my position regarding that kind of moral, or at least that line of thinking, is that not everybody is entitled to any sort of forgiveness. Nope. Nobody is entitled to forgiveness. It did cause harassment in Kenji's video. Yes, it did, Sword Artilis. Yeah.
subsequent discussions around the subject of the moral panic tend to devolve into a victimhood contest that
You earn
further
forgiveness, exactly.
obscures
You
other,
earn
more
forgiveness. You're not
systemic
entitled to it.
problems that might underlie the situation. And this is what makes Zion's termination so fucked up. Because, at this point, Niji had succeeded in framing the whole situation as an interpersonal dispute between Zion and the other talents instead of a labor dispute between Zion and Niji.
Ooh.
So when, almost 2 months
That makes
later,
sense.
Sayu would come forward with a personal statement detailing the harrowing experiences of what it was like to work at Niji, the weight of her experiences were mired in the controversy that Niji had created around her termination. Although it's never stated directly, one girl's story describes a textbook case of a toxic work environment.
Yeah. Still find it funny that whenever I hear about text, the picture I have in my head is, oh yeah, the Wato dildo, the one with the dildo. Yeah, I remember.
One characterized by
you for the
managerial
super chat.
neglect, adversarial perms processes, a callous disregard for talent well-being and mental health, as well as preferential treatment of some talents over others. And the kicker? All of these issues were brought up again a year later during Selen's termination by a combination of Dokibird herself and Niji Sanji's own statements.
Yep.
Niji doesn't want you to see the similarities between these two terminations. In fact, botching the execution of their strategy the second time round almost worked in their favor. After all, it's easy to get so caught up in the recent spectacle of Niji's failure to destroy one of their talents that you might not even realize that they've already succeeded at destroying one in the past. See, Sayu's synchronicity, she survived. Given enough time and in light of recent events, she might come to enjoy some measure of the success she deserves as a creator that managed to join one of the largest VTubing agencies of her time, regardless of how short her tenure was.
Nobody else in
However,
Niji might
for
have
Zion
that same.
Lanza, it's a completely different story. Isolated, demonized, and silenced with cold precision, there was never going to be a future for Zion, a fact that she could only have realized once it was already too late. Zion was no saint, but she was a prophet, one that few listened to at the time on
Jesus!
account of her being defined by
See?
her mistakes
Jesus!
instead of
Actual
her
Jesus!
experiences. This is what it means to become a folk devil. When all is said and done, folk devils are just a symptom of a volatile environment, one where deep-rooted issues exist without readily apparent solutions, where the simple but illusory catharsis of condemning a scapegoat is prioritized over the more complex task of implementing effective reforms from the ground up. Niji Sanji Ien has time and time again given the public reason to believe that it is one such environment. And in such an environment where
If anybody was paying attention especially in the JP side of things, they'd have people they would have known that this was not the case, even in the present. But I guess not many people pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Suspicions of favoritism, neglect, and petty conflict have become the norm in the eyes of the public. It only takes a single mistake for someone to be turned into a pariah.
True.
It doesn't matter if you're a talent, a manager, or hell, even the CEO. If the culture you've fostered prioritizes scapegoats over solutions, then no one is
Thank you,
safe.
Synapse.
So to those who might aid in the creation
Zion
of a
died for our
folk
sins, and
devil,
Sayo we trust.
a
Indeed.
word of warning. If anyone can be turned into a folk
Thank
devil,
you.
then the next one could be you.
Joke's on you, I was already a devil. God, I don't know why, chat. It may be like super 12-year-old edgy of me, but the word devil is so cool. Like, God, I want to be called a devil. Yeah. This video really plays into what's going on. Crazy Niji sisters blaming Doki for Niji's downfall, trying to make her look like the next folk devil. That's the thing. By the way, I really like this video. I'm glad that he. It's cool that he did not actually go over the actual document itself, because if he did, if Armchair went and did that, I feel like it would be a fucking boring video, right? But for him to try and look at it from a PR perspective, that's actually that's a unique way to go around it. Yeah. Read the doc right now? I guess it would be cool to read the doc, but I don't know if we... yeah. VTuber, drama tubers are considered devils to some already. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's no need to read the doc at this point, because I feel like the story is so regurgitated over and over again to a point where it's actually genuinely like not boring but repetitive now. Like there's new information to gain by reading the doc. It's not interesting, it's not enlightening. I don't think there's anything that we missed by reading the doc, right? We already know what's in it. Different perspectives are welcome though, which is what Armchair has done, which is what Legal Mindset has done, which is, yeah.